Welcome to Sparkast, the podcast by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, where the conversation is raw, the lessons important, and the stories inspirational. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sparkast Podcast. I'm Nicole Smith, today's host, and I'm joined by four very special guests. We have Dolores Fabiano, who's the Executive Director of the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce. We have Anna Schmoll, who is the founder and CEO of Rose Hill Lane, Inc. Emma Arnott, who's the Marketing and Branding Coordinator for Spark Innovation Educational Center, and Alexis Peterson, who is Project Coordinator and Student Intern at Spark Innovation. Now today, we're going to talk about the importance of career planning and how the best laid out plans don't necessarily always work out the way you think. And sometimes skills learned in some very unlikely places actually put you on the trajectory towards your future path, which is crazy. So we're going to get started by welcoming each of our guests to the show, beginning with you, Dolores. So thank you so much for joining us today. For everybody listening, why don't you briefly tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with these other three amazing women. I've been involved in the local Chamber of Commerce world for just over 30 years. I originally started as the Executive Director of the Welland Pelham Chamber, and I was part of transitioning three of the other chambers to a shared services model. So back in 2014, we transitioned the Niagara Falls, the Fort Erie, the Port Colborne Wainfleet, and the Welland Pelham chambers to a shared services model. So I oversee all four chambers now as their ED, and we represent just shy of 2,000 businesses across South Niagara. I'm also a wife and a mother to two daughters.
Wow, that's definitely a busy life for you, and yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. So we're going to go next to you, Anna. So provide a little bit of background so that people know who you are.
Hi everybody, I'm Anna Schmoll. I'm the founder and director of care of Rose Hill Lane. We provide premium personal support in home care throughout the Niagara region. We started out with a PSW of 1, which would be myself, and we've been able to grow in the last 6 years to a group of 65 PSW nurse and administrative employees. Super proud of how our team has managed and navigated COVID-19 and the pandemic, and figured out how we can thrive and keep people safe. Since we're talking about kids, I have 3 fur babies, and they drive me crazy and I love them at the same time.
Okay, so now you have to qualify the fur babies, because Dolores said she has daughters, so you have?
I have 3 German Shepherds that we've adopted, Hank, Levi, and Lucy, and they consume a lot of my brain power, for sure.
Well, that is so great to know. And I knew you had 1. I didn't realize you had 3, so that's amazing. Yeah. Okay, so let's move forward to Emma. Why don't you share about yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Emma Arnott, and as mentioned, I am the Marketing and Branding Coordinator for Spark Innovation Educational Center. I myself started out at Niagara College, and I went there for a marketing diploma and ended up taking an entrepreneurial co-op for my own business. And I did do a self-employed route for a couple of years, and I very soon ventured into having my own marketing company, working in events and hospitality and tourism was the main sector I specialized in. And then, of course, later in the podcast, we'll get into some details about it. But I am now, with Spark, and I couldn't be happier to be here today.
And we're happy to have you join us today, Emma. And then next we move on to you, Alexis. Go right ahead and share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Alexis. I'm the special project marketing coordinator at Spark. I'm a 4th-year business communication student with a minor in digital media, and I was hoping to pursue a postgraduate at PR in January. I've always had a passion for marketing and digital media and traveling, and that's going to be something that I look forward to talking about further in the podcast.
Fantastic. And where are you hoping to do your PR there, Alexis?
I'm hoping to do it at Humber. I was gonna say PR. I look forward to doing it at Humber, but I really fell in love with Vancouver, so I could potentially move to Vancouver next year. That could be in the plans. I'm not sure yet.
Wow. Well, we look forward to seeing your journey as you continue. So thank you, ladies, all for coming here and for sharing a little bit about yourself. So we're going to get started. So let's just dive in. So everybody here is at different parts of their career pathing. Some are at the beginning, which would be Alexis, and some of us have been trekking along the journey for a little bit of time. And for some of us, and maybe even for all of us, where we are today looks very different than where we imagined we would be. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to start with a little bit of fun first. So why don't each of you tell me what you wanted to be when you grew up? What was your little dream job when you were younger? So let's start with you, Dolores.
Yeah, I wanted to be a journalist. And I actually graduated from the journalism print program. That was my background. And I realized my second year into the program that the type of writing that I enjoy is more creative and not necessarily reporting the cold, hard facts. And so second year, we did an internship, and my program coordinators realized that I was probably going to go in a different path. And I ended up in a placement with a PR firm. Oh. And it just led me on the path that I ended up taking. So yeah, a little different than what I had anticipated for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. It's great to hear that. Anna.
I wouldn't say I exactly had a clear idea from a little girl of what I wanted to be. It's not like I was, wearing astronaut outfits or anything like that. But I did start working as a PSW when I was 16. And so I think the industry kind of raised me a little bit. And so I've been doing that for 17 years now. And I've never really thought about doing anything else. So.
Wow, that's great. That's rare, and it's really truly a gift when you think about it. So wow, that's great. Yeah. Okay, Alexis, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So I guess when I was younger, since my whole life revolved around basketball, whenever I would go visit my grandparents, I would always try to figure out something to tell them of what do I want to do, because I couldn't say athlete because I'm super European and they would be like, you're not going anywhere. And I always told my Jaja that I wanted to be a lawyer, and he would always be like, do you want to be a lawyer or do you want to be a liar? You choose. And that was his constant thing he would say every time I would visit him. He was 98 when he unfortunately passed away, but that lawyer side of me still resonates, that I was trying to work hard, play hard kind of side there.
That is so fantastic. I love it. Emma.
Yeah, when I grew up, a long time ago, I also, like Anna, I grew up with German Shepherds. I loved animals, I loved dogs, and so I wanted to be a vet. I love taking care of animals, and I was never afraid of any animal growing up, even wild animals. I loved animals, but I very quickly in high school learned that becoming a vet is not just, not like Barbie vet. It's, you got to go to medical school. It's sciences. It's hard. It's heavy training. It's heavily medical. And I very quickly realized that I was not made for the medical scene or the science scene. And I chose the business route instead of going medical and becoming a veterinarian.
Wow, that is great. It's funny how life does, what you think you're and as you continue, yeah, I totally get it. I was when I was very little, I wanted to be a teacher, and then when I was a teenager, I wanted to be a famous singer. Guess what?
Yeah, reality set in pretty quick.
For sure. Okay, so obviously for all of us, for some of us maybe, the dreams changed a little bit, right? So let's talk about that. Okay, so let's start with you, Emma. Let's talk about your dreams changing and kind of, where you are now.
So even, once when I was in high school too, and I was raised by two entrepreneurs, both of my parents, very entrepreneurial, they're both business owners, more in like trades and construction, but my mom was also an accountant. And so that kind of inspired me to go the business route. Even when she was growing up, she was pushed by her mother to go into business. And so I thought, okay, I'll go into business. And I started a produce business really young with my older sister. It's called Two Sisters Fruits and Vegetables. And for 8 years, we sold produce every single day in our summertime. I was able to, use that money to buy myself my first car and help pay for some of my tuition with Niagara College. So it was a real working experience, and I really enjoyed it. But very quickly after, the summertime of it passed, I thought, okay, well, now I'm going to be graduating school and I want a career. And I didn't know if I was, going to be turning this roadside stand into a grocery store. I didn't know if I wanted to really be like, the next Camisos or something. I wasn't really trying to go that route. I wanted more of a strategic business career path. So that is what pushed me into being a self-contracted marketing coordinator for some event companies, and dabbling into the hospitality and tourism sector. So yeah, that's where my beginnings came in. My background of my marketing experience was working hand in hand with business owners on their brands, on their brand messaging, and I gained so much experience that I didn't think I would get being self-employed. But working with other businesses, I learned very quickly that no, the opportunity was still there, and it gave me all of the skills I need to then lead me to a more structured 9-to-5 kind of job that I never thought, I never saw myself being in a team environment, a structured environment. I've been kind of a lone wolf. I'm pretty introverted, but I love it. I really love it. And I think I did just realize about myself that I thrive better in a team structured environment versus self-employed.
And these are great things to realize, as you do different things to understand, how a little bit better about who you are and how you function, right? And if you don't try new things, you'll never know. So thank you so much for sharing that, Emma. Dolores, let's go to you.
Well, I guess my career cycle has been a little longer than some of the others. And so my dreams have changed as things in my life have changed. So graduating out of school, I just wanted to start that career, like Emma said, you just want to get going. And I had a couple of different jobs before I started with the chamber. And, once I found the chamber, it was like, yes, this is cool because every day is different. And then, when I started having a family, my dream was more about, okay, how can I make this job work so that I can balance being a good mom and still doing a good job at work. And then as my kids grew and became independent, it was like, okay, let's really push this hard and see what else we can do and take it to the next level. So as things in my life changed, the dreams around my career changed with it, if that makes sense.
Totally does. I've done the same thing. And so, yeah, I totally get it. So Anna.
Yeah, I would say that for a long time, I didn't realize what I was capable of. And so as you're working in service industry jobs and you're working in healthcare jobs, you find yourself kind of butting up against some rules that you don't necessarily agree with. And I think it's important to be able to understand your environment and work according to your environment, for sure. But I think that once I started to realize that I could sort of take control of my own path, that's how Rose Hill Lane came about. And so I didn't really have to find myself a square in, a round hole type thing. I could create my own place. And so I really started Rose Hill Lanes thinking I would just take on my own clients and maybe share weekends or something with a friend. And that even surprised me in terms of the need and people that needed help, and also people that wanted to work for a model that cared about them. And so I think every year my dream changes because I tune in more to the market and to the PSWs and to our clients. So I don't necessarily have one specific dream along the way. I just stay open to what's available.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Alexis.
I think for me, like, I am a little bit younger in the kind of discovering what exactly I'm going to do, what exactly I'm going to fall under. But like, as I was mentioning before, like sports was like my like existence, and I was playing like in the morning, after school, I would coach basketball. And that kind of became like everything that I really cared about. And then in high school, because I went to so many different high schools, I just continuously kept playing basketball, and I never really focused on what exactly I was going to do. And then when I was getting scouted, it was like a huge major like moment for me, especially thinking that I was going to go to school in Florida for University of Central Florida. And then I broke my tibia in grade 12. I had a stress fracture, and I was taking a 3-point shot, and my tibia actually snapped on the court. And so I broke it all the way through. And that was the moment that I stopped really playing basketball, and basketball stopped surrounding my existence. And I was like, what am I going to do now? And then it was business right away. After I broke my tibia, I started focusing on business and marketing and public relations, and started being really passionate about that. And since I went to so many different high schools, I didn't really have that many like friends or people that I knew. So instead of doing like the grad trip, I decided to go to New York and take my international business credit for like that week. And right then, it just like, I went to Macy's, I went to so many sport games, learning the behind the scenes of marketing. And that just like put like a fire underneath my foot. And so when I started going to Brock, I started getting really heavily into BUSU and Brock University Student Union. And then from there, I started looking for kind of opportunities to travel, because I really enjoyed working in New York. So I left and lived in New York for five months for a family resort. And then after that, the following summer, I went to Alberta, and I worked at Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise for half a year. And then kind of COVID hit, and then I haven't really been able to travel. So I started working more into like the hotels, but I knew I always wanted to go more into like the business scene. So I worked for a PR firm for 2 years, and then I got a random DM on Instagram of this wonderful lady named Kayleen saying, because I kept posting constantly about my resume and things that I wanted to do, and Kayleen noticed me and messaged me and said, we actually have a spot opening up. Do you want to work for us? So it was just like crazy that like I wanted to step out of the like hospitality scene and traveling, because there really wasn't any opportunity because COVID hit. And then I finally got like a digital media job, which was amazing. I also worked for a downtown bench Beansville for an internship previously, but I really was, this spark kind of came at a good opportunity, because it was like during the summer, and I got to kind of grow all of my skills as a digital media like intern as a whole. So.
Fantastic. Well, yeah. We've enjoyed having you being part of our team. So this is great. I'm glad that the fit went in. So it's fun. It's fun to see how, as life goes, as situations happen, as curveballs are thrown to us, our careers, our lives, our decisions are all affected by that kind of thing, right? And I think there's great value in all of that. Even for myself personally, a lot of the skills that I currently have, I learned from doing a lot of volunteer hours. And volunteering, shout out for volunteering. I'm just saying, volunteering is a fantastic way of learning new skills while helping an organization that is in desperate need. And you know what, if you don't know how to do something, they're always happy to train a volunteer. So I'm just saying, if If you want to volunteer, there's lots of organizations that are in need of volunteers. If you're willing, they'll train you, just saying. So, yeah, so great. So before we get into, some of the other stuff, I just really want to talk about the value exactly of our early jobs, right? In the early jobs is where you tend to learn some really cool stuff, or as some people call them, those dead end jobs, right? So Anna, why don't we start with you and give us some thoughts on those early types of dead end jobs?
Yeah. I've been working since I was 11, and every single job brought me to where I am today. There are no dead end jobs, and I don't think that is necessarily the popular opinion. You come out of school and you've just spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and you want your dream job. But it took me 17 years to get to be my own boss, right? And I think that whether I was working at Quiznos or I was working in a healthcare job, I learned some key principles. Hard work. Your work ethic is everything, no matter what you're doing. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but if you can outwork everybody else, you'll be okay. And in terms of not just showing up, but doing everything with excellence, being detailed, making sure that you are a team player, treating people with respect and kindness. Everything that I took from my previous jobs, I brought to how I want to create Rose Hill Lane's company culture now, in terms of how we treat one another, how we communicate with one another, and support each other. So if you are working, you are blessed, in my opinion. So I just feel pretty passionate about people getting out there, no matter if it's your industry, your field, your education, because it's still about building those skills and making sure that you are building just a level of respect for yourself as well in being able to accomplish a day-to-day list.
Yeah, no, those are great thoughts. Does anybody else, ladies, does anybody else want to add on? Because she's pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, I was going to say everything that Anna just said completely just resonated with me, because it is, again, like building a work ethic is one of the most important things, especially when you're young. If you're pushed to get, like, 11 is so young, Anna. Like, I didn't have my first real job until I was about 15. I was really lucky that way, but that is so inspiring, and that it's true. Like, you don't need to be working 40 hours a week when you're a kid, but just little things, even having a paper route, like literally going to the very beginning, it just gives you, a responsibility. And building a work ethic, I think, is, yes, the most important thing for that foundation of where your career will go 10, 20, 30 years from your paper route or your first job at Tim Hortons. So building a work ethic is, definitely one of the most important things you can do for your career.
Shout out to everybody that's had a paper route and their mom didn't want to drive them around. My mom had 4 kids. She was not driving me around. And that was a heavy bag for a little 11-year-old, but I did it, and I learned where to put everything, and I said hello to people that I didn't know, and I ran away from dogs, and I was out in the rain, and I think that's super important for people.
You showed up, and you did your job, and that's what it's all about. That's the important part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just say, I 100% agree with Anna that there are no dead end jobs. I can't even get the words out. Every experience, and for those people who are in a job right now that, is not their dream job, take all of those good nuggets away from it, because even in jobs that aren't perfect for you, you're going to learn, confidence and managing stress and learning how to get along with people. And those are the good things that you're going to take with you that'll help you grow and get to where you really want to be. So like Anna said, no dead end jobs.
Totally agree. Okay, so I'd like to focus our conversation a little bit, unless, Alexis, did you have something to add to that?
I was going to say I have nothing to add to that, because everybody said such amazing points.
Okay, perfect. Well, then you're the lucky girl who's going to start our next conversation, because I want to change it to conversations on challenges and failures, right? Because I mean, if everything went perfectly all the time, that would be lovely, but let's face it, that is not reality. So what are your thoughts on this, especially for people who are at a crossroads in life right now, dealing with challenges and failures? So Alexis, we're going to start with you, because you definitely ran into a challenge when you had that shift in your career at a very young age.
I would say that I, at the time, viewed things that have occurred to me as a failure. But now, like growing up after years, I've realized that that was exactly what needed to happen at that time for me to learn so many new things. I think failures, it doesn't matter like what happened in your failure. It matters like how you take it and what you do afterwards. That kind of shows whether or not like you're going to do well afterwards. So for when I broke my tibia, I realized that was like a career-ending injury, and I had to move forward. And I didn't kind of feel bad about myself. I just said like, okay, well, I broke my tibia. There's really nothing I can do. I have to figure out my life. And even in university, I didn't really know what I was doing because I spent all my years kind of gliding through high school because I was a student athlete. And then I almost failed out of school because I had no like critical learning skills. I always just kind of got the grades handed to me, and I almost failed. And then I had to do kind of like a boost program at Brock, which taught you how to take lectures and or lecture notes and how to do presentations and how to write essays. And with that, I was like, I am not a failure. I just needed to learn new skills, and I needed to do terribly to realize, okay, this isn't the path I want to go on to with school. I switched my program, and I am so happy now I'm on a roll and getting such incredible opportunities. So failure isn't about what happened in your failure. It's about what you do afterwards. That kind of shows you like what kind of person you are. And with challenges, I would say, it is so good to be challenged, because as soon as like you're out of your comfort zone and you're a little bit nervous because of that challenge, you are growing like as a person. There's going to be so many things in life that scares you when it comes to new jobs, meeting new people. But if you really just take the side of confidence, like I'm going to do it, there will be such great things that come from that. And you will grow so much as a person, because if you constantly stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, Alexis, I have to say that listening to you speak, you sound like you've lived a lifetime in a very short period of time, because there are many people who are further along the journey that don't have the perspective that you do in regards to this, and it can really make or break a person's journey. So I say congratulations on allowing life to mold and shape you, and facing the challenges as an opportunity rather than as a punishment, really. So who wants to follow up to that amazing let's hear from somebody.
Yeah, I would just say, everything happens for a reason. And like Alexis said, those challenges, and let's not use the word failures, those challenges really allow you to have perspective moving on, right? And they allow you to grow in a different way that maybe you wouldn't have if you hadn't had that challenge. So you got to embrace it all, and you never look backwards, right? You take what you're given, and you go forward, and everything does happen for a reason. We've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, I think it's not failures, they're learning curves, if anything. It's like a learning curve of just, you're either going to be acquiring a new skill, or you're going to feel a new emotion, you're going to have a new reaction. It might be the first time you're experiencing it, but yeah, learning curves are, again, something that just comes along with the career path and navigating life in general, like not even just careers, like just life. There's a lot of learning curves that get thrown through. And yes, it sounds like Alexis, like you've been through already so many learning curves. So
I love the quote by Theodore Roosevelt. I absolutely live by it. It's in my home office. It is not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who at the best knows the end of the triumph of high achievement, and who at his worst, if he fails, at least he failed while daring greatly. And I just think if you haven't failed, you haven't tried. Not to be afraid of that gut-wrenching feeling like, holy shit, this just went off the rails.
We've all been there.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you can figure it out. You can figure it out. It's just those circumstances and those challenges are opportunities to grow your roots deeper and to build your sense of self and your knowing to a much more greater depth than what you would have if you weren't challenged. So I'm all about it.
I also think with challenges and failures, the people who you surround yourself will also either better or worse your situation. Because if you're with if you have a lot of positive friends around you who are like, you're going to do, like, no matter what, like, you're going to do the best that you can do and always try to positively influence you, you'll feel better about pushing yourself further. But if you have friends that are kind of being like, ugh, like you failed, I can't believe that you did this, like, you're so terrible, like, you're awful, you're not going to get anywhere, then you're going to kind of resonate with those feelings. So it's like, although these failures and challenges happen to you as an individual, it's who you surround yourself that's going to kind of push you into positivity or drag you into the dust as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with all of that. Now, as women, we are driven hard, really, by society, really, with this concept of, hashtag hustle or hashtag, be a girl boss. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I can start off by saying that I definitely understand that the girl boss and the hustle movement, it did stem from, empowering women and just, making women feel like you can do it too. But I feel at the same time that now the message is being overused and overextended to be like, almost like, yeah, women can do it too. But why are we acknowledging that it's, if there's like a, top sales representative of the week and she's a woman, it's like, oh my gosh, you have the top sales and you're a woman. It's like that sandwich of, are you saying that to encourage me, or are you saying that because there's some reason why I wouldn't have achieved this otherwise? So I find that it is getting misrepresented, the girl boss. Like, it's always good, you can call your friends a girl boss and you can, have a t-shirt with it and it's fun and it can be empowering, but I don't resonate with when it gets misused and overused, or when women are acknowledged for just, for being a woman and a boss. Like, it's, you're a boss, you own a business, you're doing your journey just like a man would, but you don't see me, the man boss and man hustle, like that doesn't exist. So I'm not sure why women are being sandwiched into this. You're an equal player, but don't forget that you achieved it and you're a woman. So sometimes it can get misused.
I really agree with Emma, and I think the value here that we want to develop in everybody is leadership. It's not about hustle. It's not necessarily about being a boss. And it's not that everybody has to be an entrepreneur and create their own six-figure income within 18 months. It's about leadership of yourself and of the people around you, whether that's your family, your children, your German shepherds, whether that's your administrative team or other vendors that you collaborate with. And so I think that attaching my gender to my achievements is offensive, and don't let me hear you do it.
Yeah. And let's face it, most entrepreneurs are not going to reach those 6 figures. That's most people, male, female, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't reach that height, and that's not necessarily why they went into entrepreneurship to begin with. Right. So, if we're going to start measuring success by how much money we bring in, then going back to those challenges and failures, well, what are you saying, right? Right? Because an entrepreneur can be a person who's doing a side business. And trust me, side businesses, you're not bringing in 6 figures. You don't have time to bring in 6 figures, right? Yeah. You're just doing what you do because you love it, period. Yeah. So anybody else, any other thoughts?
No, I completely agree with your point about how it takes a unique person, as like, even if you look at like statistically of like people that become CEOs, like I know that there are much less women CEOs, but even just being a CEO in general, like there's a very, very, very small percentage of people that have the capability to take on a CEO role in general. So like, I totally understand your point, Nicole, of that, it's, making 6 figures, getting to that level, it takes unique people in general to get there and to reach those heights.
I think it adds.
I would just go ahead, Alexis.
Say, for my siblings, I was kind of gonna go with you, Dolores, as well afterwards. I was gonna say for my siblings, and I don't have any children, but I know from my siblings, they're 14, 13, and then twin 7-year-olds. So they're all in kind of different times-ish. They are feeling that pressure, especially the 14-year-old that's in grade 9, of doing the best because she's a female. And I see that it's kind of affecting like her work ethic because she's putting so much pressure on herself. I think with me, when the girl boss and that hustle and that initiative came forward, I felt really empowered. I haven't been directly affected by the negative connotation behind being a woman, because I think I've just worked for pretty great firms that have been so diverse that I haven't been affected by being a female. I've mostly been affected by being a young female in business. And age is the thing that affects me the most, because people don't really respect you because you are young in a firm rather than my femininity or my gender. So Dolores, I was going to say with you, how is it with raising your kids?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's the same. I think that they did feel some of that pressure. And I would say I certainly understand the intent behind, girl boss and #hustle. But I think we're beyond it. And like Anna, it's almost offensive. I think, you can be whatever you want to be, but you need to put in the hard work. You need to be committed. You need to have the same characteristics that a man needs to have in order to be successful. You need to be a good leader. You need to be kind. You need to, be able to do all of those things. And whether you're a woman or not, it doesn't come easy, I don't think, for anyone. Yeah.
It just comes down to hard work. It's like, it goes back to the work ethic. If you have a good work ethic, for the average person, like I understand that, like Alexis is pointing on that, yes, some areas there might be some more political and social issues, but in some general aspects, especially in entrepreneurship, like the playing field, especially now with the movement to encourage more women entrepreneurs, I go by a philosophy. I don't want to tear down anyone. I would never, it doesn't, race, gender, sex, it doesn't matter. I can't compare myself to others, and you can't tear down others to build yourself up. Like that is a huge thing for me, that I will never, diss a man in order to put myself in a higher position of power over someone. Because for years and years, I know men did that to women. Men did that to women of, men, maybe a long time ago, they did have the hand over, where women were never achieving more than becoming secretaries or, just getting into the office. But now, yes, there are women CEOs. We do have representation in the workplace. There are women that work in trades. There are women, in, the vice president of the United States is a woman. Like, we now have way more representation. And then, it will reflect more on the younger generation. That is a very interesting point, Alexis, of teenage girls who see all this women, empowerment, hustle, be the best version of yourself. Like, we are forgetting the message of just don't forget to breathe, don't forget to enjoy the journey. And, if you want to choose motherhood and if you want to choose, being a stay-at-home mom too, that is something that is getting forgotten almost through this girl boss movement. You can be a girl boss and a mother and it never stops. You don't have to limit yourself ever.
I think too, we've come such a long way. I remember when I first started, a long time ago, there weren't as many women in my world, certainly, and the women that weren't necessarily kind to each other or supportive of each other. And I remember early on thinking this has got to change, because if we're not supporting each other, how are we ever going to get beyond this? And the good news is that we have grown so much, and there are lots of groups, and there is a lot of support. And it's almost like, we just understand each other's journey so much better, because we are balancing many other things besides just our careers. So, a message of hope. We have come a long way.
That we definitely have. And the fact is we have to also, keep things in perspective. The messaging that's going out there right now affecting the young ladies is also affecting the young men. Because, we need to keep in mind that, they need to also be empowered to, become the men that they're created and intended to be. Right. So yeah, no, I totally get it. So let's talk about this balance, because as Dolores pointed out, we are balancing, family life and work life and all the wonderful things that we tend to do. And so what does a balanced life look like, especially for entrepreneurs? So let's start with you, Anna.
Yeah, I would say this is an ongoing journey and lesson for me. I've gotten a lot better with it than I would have said 6 years ago. I think because I was working in healthcare already for so long, and oftentimes you need to work several part-time jobs to make your paycheck week to week. It was nothing for me to already be working 80 hours a week. So 100 hours a week didn't feel like that much of a leap. But once it started getting upwards of that, I was just a zombie. And so one thing I would touch on is, to be the hardest worker in the room doesn't mean you have to be working the most hours. It doesn't mean you have to be staying the latest or there the earliest or the most obsessed with your email. It means, are you bringing excellence in everything that you do? Are you intentional about every piece that you write? Are you really connecting with people? Are you really giving your best self? So I think for me, the journey through burnout, which I crashed horrifically in 2017, I was sick the whole year. I wouldn't have made it through a COVID type of year because I was constantly sick with all different kinds of sinus infections and strep throat. And my body just said, enough, I can't do this anymore. But for me, balancing burnout means coming back to your center and defining your home base and your values and just bringing that leadership to yourself. Like, no, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to focus on. This is what you have to offer. And so when I talk about leadership, you can be just working by yourself and be a leader. You can be a mom and be a leader. You can be whoever you are a leader as long as you're staying true to your values, right? So when I look at balance now, and what does that mean? It means for me having a flexible schedule. Maybe I didn't get a full 8 hours in at the beginning of the day, but I'm going to allow myself an hour or two of work at night. I make sure that I see people, obviously within social distancing guidelines right now, but I never used to make time to see my family and my friends. And the truth is, they're not always going to be there for you. And you can work your whole life away and just be alone, right? So seeing people and connecting with people is so important. Yeah, I could go on and on about burnout and balance, but I think at the core, it's about defining your values and staying true to yourself.
Okay. Those are absolutely great points. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, Nicole, you and I had a little conversation earlier just about, we've been living through this pandemic and it's been awful, but there are, little nuggets again that we need to pull from it. And it really has allowed us all to slow down for sure. You're not allowed to, host a BA5. You can't go out and see people on a regular basis, and even just your social life. And it certainly made me pause and think about, what was I doing? You rush to the office so that you can have an hour of time uninterrupted before everybody else comes in. And you work through lunch because you just have so much to do. And then you go off to an event, a couple nights a week. And then the weekend comes. And of course, you want to, have some social life. And then Sunday night comes and you're exhausted and you do it all over again. And it's crazy. And even just, responding to emails at crazy hours of the day and night, it's almost like, we wore it like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And I hope that we've learned something during this past year and a half, that we do need to have better balance. And, self-care isn't an indulgence. It's important for us to be able to be those leaders and to be the best that we can be. I know we don't typically think like that, but I think we have to start. And I hope that nugget from the pandemic stays with us for a long time. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think having an outlet where you truly can detach from work, because even people would always tell me, oh, just like go for a walk. And I'm not an athletic person anymore. I used to be, but I do not work out. I've tried, people say, oh, do a 15-minute workout every day. It'll help. Did not help me. That doesn't make me stop thinking about emails and don't forget to do this. So the only thing I have found that has kind of pulled me away from thinking about work is golf. I have found a true love for golf. I've golfed for a couple of years, and over the past 2 years, I've gotten pretty serious into it, where I'm golfing every other day. I'm out of the course, and because that's something you actually need to think about what you're doing, how I'm swinging, what iron I'm going to use. Like there's more, like golf is a very like you have to be in it and you can't be focused on other things to be good at golf. So that was something that I found that fully detached me from thinking about my emails. And again, I mean, there's never service out on golf courses where I'm at. So I don't even get my emails. I don't get text messages. I don't have people calling me out on the golf course. So I think it's important for everyone to find that outlet that truly makes them detach temporarily from thinking about, oh, I have to respond to this person, and what are we doing on Tuesday, and what time is that meeting tomorrow? And so detaching sometimes is really important too.
I think it's interesting that everybody has found their niche, but like I have not found mine. And I think that's okay to talk about too, is that like I haven't found the thing that's allowed me to kind of like unplug, because especially I live downtown Toronto. There's really not like there's a million things to do, obviously, but during COVID, like there's really not. And if I don't enjoy, like I've been kind of pushing myself to go for walks now, and it's been making me happy, but I have not found something to be my outlet. Growing up, it was always basketball, but now I'm like, I don't really know. And I hate that the only thing that I really do to kind of unplug from everything is like watch shows and watch movies. But I hate that I'm looking at my screen. I want to be like fully unplugged. Mm-hmm. And I think for the viewers, it's okay to not have found your thing to unplug just yet. and you should go and try new things and fun things, and you will find your niche. So
yeah, absolutely. Trying different things will, yeah. If you haven't figured it out, try something new. And if you don't like that thing, that's okay. Try something new again, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
And I
there's
also
lots.
think it's the idea of self-care is like this hour massage that I booked once every 2 weeks. And we just did a string of self-care workshops for our PSWs. And our conversation was not about giving them a prescription of what we think self-care should be for them, but it was a discussion around what brings you joy, what lifts your spirit. Let's talk about that. Let's get the wheels turning on that. And it's literally 1 to 5 minutes a day can make the biggest difference. And so I've sort of taken everything I've learned about burnout and losing balance and losing yourself, and I've really tried to infuse that into a strategy now for taking care of our employees. It's just been an amazing experience to have that open dialogue and conversation with these beautiful healthcare workers that are literally pulling us through the pandemic. And to talk about this is attainable. This isn't going to a spa because that's not even an option right now. This is a 1-minute breathing technique, or this is a few words jotted down in your journal, or this is sitting outside on your deck for 10 minutes and looking at your flowers. We had such good discussion around that. And I think it's also just talking to each other and just creating space for each other and letting each other know, hey, I'm here if you need anything.
Yeah, that I think is a great place for us to maybe conclude our conversation, because yeah, at the end of the day, right, the career hustle, you're going to work the rest of your life, whether you're, you know, working at home, cleaning your house, raising children, cooking dinner, or you're in the office, or, you know, on the farm, or in the grocery store, or at McDonald's, or whatever. You're going to work, you know, until, you know, you retire, or, you know, move on to the next segment of life. So that's never going away. So we need to find a way to live within that in a way that allows us to be able to be fully engaged when we're there, and fully engaged in the other parts of our lives as well. And I think a well-balanced life is not easy to find, because the world pulls at us and tugs at us and says, but you got to do, and you got to hurry, and you got to. And there are periods in your life when that happens. When you have a baby's going to rule the roost, and that's the way it is, because baby has needs and they don't match with yours. But that's a temporary thing. Temporary things is okay. Would you agree, ladies?
Yeah,
Temporary is okay, but all the time, not so cool. So thank you guys so much for sharing your hearts and your journey with me and with our listeners. I hope, well, I know I've learned some great stuff, and I know that our listeners definitely have done all of that for sure. So thank you so very much. So before we shut out completely, just one final thought from each one of you on anything that we've spoken about today, just a final thing to leave, a nugget to leave with our listeners. We will start with you, Alexis, and then we'll go from there.
I think that you need to seek discomfort in your everyday life, or else you will not find your happiness. And I think that the discomfort will allow you to challenge yourself and fail. And I think that's where your most growing is going to happen. And if you haven't found your niche, you haven't found your job yet, then you're in the kind of position to continuously keep searching and then finding the discomfort and challenges. And then finally, there will be a point in your life where you will find your thing that's meant for you, whether it's now, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's in 5 years from now. You will find your thing. You will find something that makes you happy. And I think that's my point.
Perfect. Thank you, Alexis. Okay, Anna, your turn.
Yeah, I think something I would leave with anybody that's sort of taking a closer look at their career paths is that there's room for everybody, and there is no competition happening at all. That's your own ego. You are unique, and your service offering is unique, and you will find your clients. So let's all support one another and share with one another and collaborate and lift each other up together. It's just so important that we take that approach instead of us or them. So let's do it together.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anna. Emma.
Yeah, my final thoughts would be going back, touching on Alexa's point about support, because I think that's something we should reiterate about having the right support group, and especially for I have found even transitioning from high school to university to just really getting on some momentum in my career path. I have had a lot of friendships fizzle out, and a lot of, unfortunately, just like toxic relationships that I had of people pulling me into an environment I didn't want to be a part of. If I'm trying to be over here, but people are pulling you back to this, you can't be afraid to let those things fizzle out. Let it go, and always trust your gut. Like whatever your gut and your first instinct is, go with it. It's the same thing with if you're taking a multiple choice exam and you never change your answer. If you know the answer, do it, go with it, and stick with it, and stick with your morals, stick with your values, because if you don't know your morals and values, if you don't know who you are, you'll get more lost. So yeah, don't be afraid to let go of some relationships that you can feel them pulling you down. You feel them not taking you to what height you want to be. If you need to let go of something to be elevated, do it.
Okay. And Dolores.
Well, I would say don't let fear hold you back. Be open to trying new things. Be kind to the people around you, and take care of yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for such a great, amazing conversation. And we've come to the end of our time together. So to our listening audience, I want to say stay tuned for our next episode, where we're going to look a little bit deeper into this idea of multi-generational and intergenerational collaborations. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I want to thank our guests. And I think it's going to be a great conversation moving forward, and lots of golden nuggets. So hold on to those things. Until next time, this is Nicole signing off.
Thank you for joining us on Sparkast. See you next time.